It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great.
And welcome back to another episode of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Bubba Lutz. And should I even call it the Sports Podcast anymore? Or should I just call it the Bubba Lutz Podcast? Because we don't have any sports. Like, there's nothing happening, all right? This is episode 117 of the podcast. And today, it's what everyone's talking about. It's what everyone's mentioning, concerned about. And now it's hit the sports world to where it's now suspended everything possible for sports. It's the coronavirus. And all jokes aside, this is all going to be a serious conversation of how it's impacting sports and how it's impacting the podcast itself. So let's just say that a lot of the things that we were going to do for this month on the podcast will now be canceled or at least suspended until further notice because of the coronavirus. We were planning on doing a preview for March Madness, basically a whole run through of March Madness and just talking about it throughout the tournament. That's going to be suspended for as long as how they're going to cancel March Madness and then see if they're going to do it later on in the year. We were going to have special guests on, and for the time being, that's not going to happen. And then later on, we're going to have some previews for the draft, for NFL Combine, or NFL Draft Prospects. So that's going to be postponed most likely. I don't think the NFL has mentioned anything for the draft, but they said as far as operations go in the NFL, and it's been suspended. So it's more than likely going to be the fact that the draft will be suspended as well. Personally, I had a lot of events wanting to go on, going to soccer games, going to events like wrestling, and then doing an actual Call of Duty event for esports. And all of those things, from my recollection, have been canceled or at least postponed. And that sucks, man. The reason why I want to talk about today, and I'm not just going to blabber on about what the coronavirus is or if it's important or not. I'm not a doctor, and I'm pretty sure you've heard that across like all your platforms, wherever you get your entertainment from. I'm not going to say that it's not a big deal, that it is a big deal. Look, the whole point of doing these postponements and doing these suspensions for all these events is for the greater good. It's for the best. When you're not trying to add fuel to the fire, you're trying to limit the amount of spread as much as possible, and doing it in crowds and stadiums, arenas that are 20,000 plus, 40,000 plus, or even more than that. You're not going to do a good job of limiting that spread in the United States or around the world when you're doing events like that, to where it takes that one guy, it takes that one person to screw it up for everyone. We know that one person, and you know who I'm talking about, all right? We all have that one person. So to have that chance of 1 in 80,000, 1 in 50,000, that person to just breathe the same air as a different person that's healthy and take that risk, that ain't worth it for me. I love sports. Sports is my life. And of course, that's the case, especially when I'm doing a sports podcast right now. And not being able to either experience that through events, talking about it, we had a whole month planned, and yet here we are not being able to talk about anything. As far as the moment, we started off the week talking about like Dak Prescott, about the Cowboys. We were going to mention March Madness and go on and on and on about some events and some announcements for, like, let's say, watch-alongs, live streams. And for the time being, we're just not going to be able to do that. I think what the real point I want to make today is the fact that Jurgen Klopp, the manager for Liverpool, who earlier this week was during his press conferences for Champions League, and Champions League has been affected tremendously during this coronavirus, is playing games with no fans, no crowd, playing it in dead silence, which once in a while is cool. I like that. Remember when Baltimore had those protests and the Orioles had to play some of their games with no crowd, with no fans, And it was actually fun to, get to hear the team, hear the players talk on the field. It was nice. It was a cool experience to watch when you're so used to just crowd noise and the experience overall making sports a better place. And in soccer, it's pretty much the same thing, but soccer feeds off the crowds, especially in Champions League, where European crowds are so much more different from United States crowds, Mexico crowds in soccer, because they're committed to that. They're invested into soccer. That is their livelihood. They cancel like days in Europe for Champions League games if their team is making it far into the tournament. And that's just what it is. That's their baseball. That's their football to them, like it is for the NFL in the United States. And to play that with no crowd, with no fans, that hits a different way. And Klopp, during his press conference, trying to get ready for a huge game. They're down against Atletico and having to win there just to defend their championship from just a year ago. And one of the reporters asked, like, how are you concerned about the coronavirus? What are your thoughts on it and how are you preparing the team for it? All in all, he just laid it on the line. He was no bullshitting. He was saying, look, I'm not a doctor. Why are you asking me? Why does my opinion matter? We all have to take the precautions. We all have to wash our hands. We all have to take the things that the CDC and the WHO have put out into the world as far as precautions and taking care of ourselves in order to avoid any type of infection. But why does my opinion matter? Why does sports have to be a part of this? Why does sports have to be a reason why this is important? It's not. The reporter had to travel from another country because he didn't work in England. He didn't work in Italy. No matter where that game was being played, he had to travel. And he took the risk of having to go on a plane, having to deal with a huge crowd of people, a lot of reporters as well, a lot of ways for infection, and yet he's still doing his job, and he's asking other people about the risk, whether he's being oblivious to it or not. And Klopp was very honest about it, saying, my opinion doesn't matter. Why does my opinion matter? You should know already the risk that you're taking, the risk and the precautions that are involved with coronavirus. And his opinion, a player's opinion, or the fact that it's impacted by a player or a coach should not matter. And this is where I transition a little bit more into the news about the NBA suspending their season after the fact that Rudy Gobert was tested for coronavirus right before or right around the time that the Thunder game against the Jazz was supposed to happen last night. And he was sent to the hospital. He was tested. Turns out he's positive for it. And the game was postponed, and immediately the NBA took action. Adam Silver and the whole league took action and said, look, we're going to suspend the rest of the games for the rest of the season. Whatever plays out tonight, cool. After that, we're going to see where we go from here. And this is where media perception, society perception is really key in figuring out if this is a big deal or not. That's not what I'm going to answer here. I'm not saying that it's a big deal or not, but the way that we go about it, that's where I think a lot of people are going wrong. The fact that Rudy Gobert is tested positive for coronavirus, there has been already some soccer players and some big names in soccer that have been tested and been they've come back with the test positive for coronavirus, like the manager for Arsenal, a player from Juventus, and then most of the NBA teams. There was 5 last night that were quarantined, including the Jazz and the Thunder. Donovan Mitchell was reported to be positive with coronavirus as well earlier this morning. And even the news about Tom Hanks and his wife being positive for coronavirus last night as well. And then basically social media and then society just went crazy about it and saying, oh, now it can happen to anyone. The fact that has to go to that extent is what's kind of wrong with how we're going about this, because this is going to be a long-term thing. This isn't just going to fly by in a couple weeks and then we'll say, oh, finally we get back our NBA season, we'll get back our March Madness. Sports are nothing. This is way above and so much more prioritized than sports in general. So trying to combine the two, saying like, oh wow, now an NBA star is tested positive for coronavirus. Oh wow, a few all-stars. Who's next? What if a big name like, let's say LeBron gets it? Then the whole world is gonna go fucking nuts. That doesn't matter. Like they're just people like you and me, and the fact that people are now taking it serious and now being concerned about it, just based on what they saw on Twitter, based on what they saw and who they follow on a regular basis with their team, their players, whatever. If you're a huge fan of Rudy Gobert, you're probably nervous as hell right now. That doesn't matter because the neighbor next to you is going to be more important as far as being infected than Rudy Gobert and you being impacted by that. So the way that the social media and society is going about this is completely wrong. I'm not saying that it's not a big deal. We got to take our precautions. We got to be as careful as possible when it comes down to, being healthy and having a strong immune system, trying to avoid this as best as possible. And, I'm a simple man. Like I learned at a very young age that you got to wash your hands no matter what. And the fact that, WHO, CDC are saying you need to wash your hands, don't touch your face, don't rub your eye, don't do the simple stuff that you should already be doing. It's ridiculous that a lot of people are like, oh wow, well, we got to change what we're doing. It's like, you should be doing that all the time. Think of how many people don't wash their hands after using the restroom. Even before this even started, I was like, you are nuts. You are a psychopath, right? And now it's just glorified because of the times. But, when you look at the stats, and I'm not a numbers guy when it comes to this. This is not my topic of expertise. I'm a sports guy, and even then, I'm just a random guy that has a YouTube channel and does this on a semi-regular basis. I have 57 subscribers. There's a good amount of people that listen to this and watch this and really appreciate my opinion on sports because they enjoy what I have to say and they agree with a lot of what I have to say. And if you don't, you don't. Cool. At least you're still here. You're still supporting it. I appreciate that. And so for me to say like, oh yeah, Corona is a bunch of bullshit. We're in the early stages of this, and the fact that there's more people dying right now from influenza, from stuff that we've been dealing with for a very long time, more than there is deaths of coronavirus right now. The media makes it seem like it's the next apocalypse, and the people that are going above and beyond when it comes to preparing for the worst, by all means go ahead, but this is not the end of the world. You can prepare as much as you want, be safe than sorry. I get that, but the way that we're going about this, you can't let the media, you can't let sports judge your criticism or judge your decision making on the infection, on the virus. And for a lot of people, that is the case. They're judging what they're doing, and this is kind of the same idea that we're doing with sports, is that they're taking the highest precautions possible in order to avoid this or limit this as much as possible. Good job for the MLB. Good job for the NBA and all these other leagues around the world taking precautions, saying, look, to avoid this as much as possible and give the safety of our fans and of our community the best case scenario, best possible outcome. Let's just stop playing games for a little bit. Let's suspend the tournaments. Let's suspend all the events that are supposed to happen. That we're going to try to limit this as much as possible. But for the fact that a lot of people are now freaking out about it, saying, oh my God, now there's no more NBA, this is the end of the world. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be the case. So I'm here to tell you, like, just be careful out there, man. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself, most importantly. But, I mean, it is what it is, right? Right. Like, you can't be mad about it. This is day one of no sports. Bubba Lutz is still alive and well. Let's see how we get through a week, 2 weeks of it. I don't know how I'm going to do this podcast. Really, I'm going to have to be real creative with it. But for the time being, let's just be careful. Let's not overreact. Let's just be careful and see how it goes. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot better. Think of it glass half full. Could be a lot worse, honestly, in this world right now. You know, the cases in China are going down on a regular basis, like day by day. Italy's being quarantined. Pasta's coming off the shelf. Have you seen the videos? Dire times in Italy, but hey, we're getting it through it. In the United States, could be a lot worse, to be honest. You know, it's tough, but look, I don't know what to tell you. If you want more news on the coronavirus, go check out Keeping a G podcast with Eddie. He did one with Nathaniel. That's my man right there. He's the next president of the United States. That's the man to talk to about a crisis like this. I'm just talking about the sports side of it. The only thing I can tell you on the non-sports side about it is take care of yourself. Be careful. Wash your hands. Hand sanitize that bitch. Do all the precautions. That's all I can say. But as far as the sports portion goes, it sucks. It really does because, like, at this point, think of those small little things like, you know, in March Madness, it's one of the best times of the year. I binge watch college basketball, and I don't watch college basketball on a regular basis. But during that time, the stories, the players, the names that you hear, and careers, lives that are made during just 3 weeks of a tournament, you know, make or break someone's life, makes or breaks someone's career, and gets them noticed. Buzzer beaters, you know, great moments in sports have been created throughout March Madness, and that's what I love. It's not just a sport; it's more than that to me. It's a lifestyle. It's a life itself, to where I enjoy my life based on watching sports and watching people, you know, play the games of their lives around this time of year, and going to events as well. You know, I was going to go to MLS soccer game for the very first time, FC Dallas versus LA FC. I get to watch Carlos Vela for the very first time, and he is one of my favorite players of all time for Mexico. And now for the time being, I don't get to do that with Eddie, and that sucks. But I completely understand where they're coming from. Do I think it was shocking for the fact that the NBA suspended their season and every league after that really doing the same? You know, domino effect after that. It was shocking. But do I think it's wrong? No. I'm actually surprised that a lot of these other events that are going to be bigger, let's say like WrestleMania, they're going to hold that in Tampa Bay at the stadium, Raymond James Stadium. I could be wrong on the name, but that's where the Buccaneers play. They can hold up to 80,000 people, and that's what they're expecting for WrestleMania 36. Right now, it's still going to go on. 80,000 people? I ain't taking that risk, because what if that guy next to me, fucking Ryan over here, starts coughing on me? I'm out. I don't care who's wrestling. I don't care if John Cena comes out as Dr. Thugonomics. Ryan ain't gonna get me killed. You know, that's just not that's not worth it. So it's good that all these commissioners and all these things are being done. It sucks because like the XFL just announced that they're not gonna play the rest of the regular season. It's their first season. This can make or break a lot of money and a lot of careers if the XFL doesn't get going again. And we're talking about a season in the NBA, which is historic, where LeBron James at 35 is having an MVP season and well on his way to another title. You know, for the Lakers during a season where Kobe passed away, guys like Jason Tatum are playing the best ball of their life. It sucks to see it, but you can't be mad at the fact that this is happening because it's for good reasons. You know, we talk about lockouts that have happened in the NBA and the NFL or the MLB, and those are for personal reasons for players. Those are for reasons that are above us, that have nothing to do with us. And as a fan base, we get a little mad because we're being deprived of something that we love. If you're a sports fan, if you're a fan of any team, player, and you're being deprived during this time, and you're mad about it, and you're frustrated about it, and you're freaking out about it, you got to rethink your mindset here. Because, like, for me, life is everything about sports. You know, I don't live properly without sports. day one, I'm good because I understand. And it sucks to say that for the time being, there's not going to be much to watch. There's not going to be much to cover. So we'll see how it goes. Like, you'll be right there with me. You'll be on the journey with me. But the fact that it's come down to this, like suspending or postponing a lot of the events, it's tough, man. It's tough to judge. It's not my place. It's not my critique to say that it's good or bad, or to say that it's the wrong thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and that's just how we're gonna have to take it. It's take it with a grain of salt, take it a glass half full. We just gotta move on from it. We gotta get by this. We gotta focus on our health, most importantly, before sports or anything. But this is a PSA from your boy Bubba Lutz. You're wholesome, good looking, charming Bubba Lutz. Everything's gonna be okay, alright? Now, if I don't post for 3 months, we got an issue, all right? But for the time being, we're going to come back every couple days, give you an update on how I'm feeling, how I'm living, and we're going to talk about some sports topics that we haven't probably talked about before. Let's try to get some guests on here. Let's get Eddie back on here, some people from work that I've never talked to before on the podcast. We'll have a good old time. I'll try to get you happy throughout this tough time and get your mind off of some rough times in 2020, because that video of Chris Paul where it's like, how's 2020 going, or like, Grandpa, how was 2020? Shit was going down, or shit was happening. That's Chris Paul right there. That's a mood right there. But hey, look, I don't know what this was. Watch this, and I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable. Don't worry about it. Don't stress over it. Just do all that you can and take all the precautions you can. Be safe out there. Don't freak out because you see a Twitter account that's verified say, this is the end of the world, and then you retweet it, and then everyone that you follow, the baby mama from high school, says, oh my God, we're in trouble. I'm pretty sure her opinion isn't going to be the biggest thing in the world. Stay off Twitter, stay off Instagram, laugh on some of the coronavirus tweets, because I have to, but relax. Just don't take everything that you see on Twitter, on Instagram, or any post literally. Just know your information. This is what I've learned over the last couple of days. Learn more about it. Learn more of what you can do yourself, rather than be a part of a narrative of like, oh, we're freaking out. This is the end of the world, so let's just say fuck it. Just learn from it. Be a better you. Be healthy out there. Take all the precautions you need. Precaution is the word of the day. But stop believing everything you see on the media. I've heard a handful of doctors say, look, this is a pandemic, but don't think this is the end. Don't think this is, if you are infected, if you are positive, you are dead, because that is not the case. There's still a lot more research to do. There's still a lot more things that can be done. We're going to take every information that we can that is right, that is justifiable, and we'll try our best as a society to be a better us and learn from this experience. And we get through it, we get through it. There's going to be some casualties along the way. That's just how it is. That's just what has happened with Ebola. That is what's happened with the swine flu. It happens. This is life. So live your life, but be safe out there. That's all I can say. I love you, and I appreciate you watching this, because I know you care about me and my opinion. I appreciate you so much. So stay safe out there. But you're good. You're good. I got you. Making you laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. So I got you on that, and giving you some high quality content on sports media. That's going to do it for episode 117 of the Bubble Up Sports Podcast. We'll see you next time later on this week. We're actually, very soon, we're going to put out the videos on YouTube from the past live stream with Bobby. So stay tuned for that. And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and put alerts or ring the bell for alerts to get those notifications. And we'll see you next time on the Bubble Up Sports Podcast.
How much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now would you lose if it been a better draft pick? And do you cuss when your team get their ass kicked? Now do you keep it classy or you keep it ratchet? For the man with the magic. Now who is he? It's the boy Bubba Lutz coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's a boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way.